Yeah? Thank you. Thank you.
Yes.
Hello.
Hello.
We have to squeeze in a little bit.
Yeah, you guys.
Yeah.
Hello, nice to meet you.
Yeah. You're from Germany, right? Yes. But I was.
We could do the same thing, man. We can both wear hats and our sunglasses.
Yes, he already actually. We discussed it. We discussed it when we saw you.
Alright, cool. We're all supporting the same place of existence.
Ну, мы готовы.
Good afternoon, everyone. A very warm welcome to all of you for the 53rd International Film Festival of India. And a very warm welcome to all of you to India.
Thank you.
So today we have the cast and crew of 2 films from International Panorama feature film section. First one is a German movie named Distanz. It is directed by Lars, produced by Felix Leiberg, and we also have cast with us Hannah Ehrlichmann and Lucas Englander. Sorry, I pronounced it right. Okay. So I'll just share a brief about the movie, and then we'll play the trailer for getting more information about the film. So during a worldwide pandemic, the marketing director, Lars, isolates himself in his apartment due to a fear of contracting the virus. He avoids all human contact, even with his wife, Sabina, and their 2 children, who are staying temporarily at a vacation house. But one evening, his neighbor, Zoe, appears at his doorstep. Zoe's uninhibited relationship with Carl, which he now watches from the window, seems a welcome distraction in Laszlo's struggle to land new business and avoid his company's impending bankruptcy. Distanz was written during lockdown, shot in just one apartment, and produced completely independently. So now we'll play the trailer of Distanz.
Ihre Marke muss jetzt relevante Beiträge posten. Das muss nicht viel kosten. Nein, das geht alles remote.
Lies dich doch selber als fucking Darsteller und bekommst den Soll.
Wo ist denn die Mama?
Ich will nicht mit dir sprechen.
Du kannst echt froh sein, dass du in sicherer Distanz bist.
Ich will jetzt verdammt nochmal, dass du hierher kommst.
Also um ehrlich zu sein, habe ich eine Wette mit meinem Freund, dass ich es schaffe, bis in deine Küche zu kommen.
In die Küche. Eine Infektion wäre jetzt echt lebensbedrohlich für mich.
Für Risikogruppe hast du dich aber ganz schön gut gehalten.
Wenn du willst, kannst du hier eine Nacht bleiben. Aber nur eine Nacht. Und nur wenn wir das safe hinkriegen. Hinter der Wand, ohne Maske. Bad und Küche mit. Und am besten gleich nochmal komplett desinfizieren, bitte.
Was heißt denn komplett?
Lars befindet uns auf Menschen. Teil meiner Partner sind ebenfalls pleite.
Was geliebt werden kann am Menschen, das ist, dass er ein Übergang und ein Untergang ist.
Und wer sagt eigentlich, dass der übermenschlichen Waffe ist?
Aber die verarscht sie genauso, wie sie mich verarscht. Das sind alles hier Mindgames. Werd dir dessen mal klar.
None of these numbers work for me.
Do you want the job or not?
Honey, du hast auch 2 Kinder. Kümmere dich mal um deine eigene Family.
Mein Vater hat 57 Menschen sterben sehen. Alle mit unterschiedlichen Leben. Aber eins hatten sie alle gemeinsam kurz vorm Tod. Reue. Wegen dem, was sie nicht gemacht haben.
I would also like to share that Distance had its world premiere here in IFFI yesterday. So the floor is now open for you all. Lars, would you like to share something?
I mean, go ahead, just ask if you know. I don't know if anyone has seen the film yesterday, or is there anyone who saw the film yesterday? No. Okay. Or what do you pick up from the trailer? Anyone? Yeah. Please? Yeah?
Hello. So I'm guessing that the pandemic was the inspiration behind the starting of the writing of the movie. But was there any other source material that you referred to, like other books, other films that sort of inspired? Because you can see a little bit of Rare Window in it also, because he can see her through the window, things like that. Was there anything that you referred to?
I mean, obviously, you know, the idea was very quickly to do this in a very restrained format. I think from the beginning I wanted to write a piece for 2 people in one apartment, and of course then, you know, I was watching, you know, all of these films that use the same format of, like, you know, everything happens in one room or in one place, in order to avoid also that the apartment becomes boring. You know, so I really wanted to see the different rooms and create a character on its own. So the apartment, I really, like, I saw it as a character, you know, that each room had its different sound and tonality, and, you know, so. And yes, a lot of books and poems, and, you know, you just saw the character Zoe brings in this, like, notebook from her father, and there's a lot of, like, quotes written, and, you know, so at that time I was reading a lot of poems and Neruda and, like, Nietzsche, and, you know, so the film is scattered with all these, like, little, you know, fragments of it. Yes.
So in the introduction, it was mentioned that the film was shot during the pandemic, right? So my question is that if it were to be shot right now, or when the pandemic is kind of reduced, would you have done anything differently, or would you have done it just like you did it then? Because the things have changed from what the situation was then to what it is now. So if you were to make it now, what are you going to do?
Of course, I think once you finish a film, you know, as a filmmaker, you think, oh, I'm going to do different the next time. But I think it has nothing to do with the pandemic. It's more like going through the process of the creative process of making a film, after which you think, okay, next time I do this and this differently, you know. But I think it's not really so much related to the pandemic, you know. It's I often felt that the pandemic was not the problem itself. It just, like, it used as a, you know, as a push forward and bring forward all the problems we had inside of us, you know. But there was no hiding anymore. I think this was a starting point for me for the film. I think it's not a film about the pandemic. It's just like, it's a catalyst to push forward what all these characters, you know, like, keep inside them for so much. But at one point it was really, like, pushed forward. But also not only because of this pandemic that's happening in the film, but very much also because of her character, Zoe, who enters the apartment. It's almost like she's the virus. Because this character, Laszlo, is hiding and he's protecting himself from the virus. And this character, you know, like Zoe, what the lovely Hannah Ehrlichmann is portraying, for me very much she was the danger. She was the virus who enters at one point into the apartment. You know, this character Laszlo is doing everything to protect himself, so he doesn't see his family. He keeps himself locked up in this apartment. He puts a mask on. You know, you see like a complete suit to not get an infection. But then again, through the circumstances in the film, he lets her in, or her character. And this is actually also, you know, that it's a danger, but also, you know, whatever happens then, you know, it needs to happen. You know, there's a destructive form that she brings into this apartment, the talks they have, the honesty they share. And I think this is needed for this character to, in a way, also free himself from what he's like. It's very much about fear of change, and, you know, in order to change, you have to let go of fear. You know, at the beginning, there's a lot of fear.
I think it's also a time document. I think a lot of films are documenting time and culture and references. But I think we probably wouldn't have done that film without lockdown or without all the restraints we had, because it, as Lars said, catalyzed his story and was inspired also. But it's a very personal story of Lars, and I would say we also wanted to be very fast. So when he gave me the script, it was 3 months later that we shot already, still in lockdown, and we also wanted to finish, because we thought that's a piece of time, a moment in history that we want to capture in a creative way on film.
Yeah, I saw a lot of colleagues, like when the pandemic started, I saw a lot of colleagues shying away from shooting people in masks because it seemed like very uncool. And people were like, oh yeah, no, let's wait, you know, like, and everything came to a stop. And we were really, while I was working on the script, and Alexander, who was involved very early on, and we had a lot of talks, Alexander, who plays Laszlo in the film, we were asking around, like, who's working on a pandemic film? Who's working on this subject? And everyone was like on hold and very scared, because it seemed so uncool, at least in our environment, or back then in Germany, to do a film about this, you know, because we all projected, like, okay, maybe it takes a month or 2 or 3 months, but doing a film takes a year. So do you really invest in this now, you know? But then again, and normally I would say it's also not my style. It almost like it wrote itself. I don't know where this came from. Normally I would not do this. I also would say that's very uncool to show people with masks. But then also I think it was obviously, we all know, a life-changing moment for humanity. It's our duty to put this somewhere. If you're a musician or a photographer or a filmmaker or a writer, you know, I think it really felt like you cannot ignore this in your work. You know, you have to put it somewhere, and regardless if it's uncool or what format you choose, you know, you have to put it somewhere.
And yesterday, a woman came up to Lars, hugging him and crying and saying, "Thank you so much for this film," because I think she could reflect or see herself in it, and we're really happy to. I mean, those moments where I think we're here to make films, to reach people and to connect and share.
Thank you.
Yesterday I have seen the film Distanz. It says it's some story of the family, a person and a lady, they are talking together. It is just a contrast of the life of German people throughout the world. It says something about with the dialogue, says something about the family, or something about the society, or German society, or any other place of the world.
Well, you know, Germans are not funny, and they're very dry, and there's just, it will take probably another 1,000 years for those barbarians to become human and funny.
Yeah.
No, I'm just joking. But what's the question specifically? Oh, thank you. Yeah, yeah.
Distance says something.
Yeah, that's true. It's true. And there are probably cultural implications in the film that also say something about our society, or how we grow up, and with all the baggage of history as it's there. As it's here as well, how beautiful the history here is. It's much more, I feel, connecting and sharing and loving and kind culture that I embrace very much. I'm very happy to be here and to be invited by the festival and that we could show our film here.
Can I say something?
Of course.
I think I saw the film yesterday here, and I was so grateful to see it here because I thought, where can we connect with the continent's difference? And there was this global pandemic, so that's the part where we immediately connect, and then the emotional part where we can connect because we're all human. And so when we touch each other on an emotional level, so we're just immediately the same and we know each other. So I think part of the film is the German way to being afraid of your emotions and about talking about your emotions. And we screened it here yesterday, and the audience was so not scared to share their emotions, and it was a really pleasuring way to feel the love from the audience to us, and it was nothing like the German way to enjoy a movie together. So thank you so much for joining us, and go on the ride with us.
Hi everyone.
I think it's also a document of time. Like as Felix said, we are right now in a time of transition where suddenly we're allowing ourselves to speak about our issues and our psychological problems, and like also to face that we do not know how to be ourselves. And so I think with this film, here we're receiving this reception. In Europe it might be a bit colder, but it's still the same place, right? Yeah. It's still the same fear that we all face of how can I be me? And in front of whom can I be me? And sometimes we need the exact opposite to ourselves to be able to find that thing that we are. Yeah. And that's when I saw it for the first time yesterday, and it's so cool. You made a time document. You made something that is really zeitgeist. Well done.
I think sometimes you have to destroy yourself in order to refine yourself. And I think this is also very much in the film. You have to go to destroy something in order to create something new. There's this metaphor for you have to
go to war with yourself
and becoming the butterfly.
Exactly. Yeah. It's this, exactly. In order to become a butterfly, you have to go through metaphors.
And it's a very healing process, isn't it?
But this lady had a question now. Yes.
I have a question for Hannah.
Yes.
So how hard was it for you to get into the character of Zoe? It's a character with great depth. So were you able to relate it to the character at any level as a person?
Thank you for the question. To be honest, I read the script first, and it's called a rough version, and I was clinging to this word of being rough, and I read the script and I felt, wow, the character is so deep, and she has some issues. We don't know what exactly the issues are, but she is on her journey to find something, herself in this society, her place. And while shooting, I had the feeling the character, she took the lead over me. So she was doing it on her own, and I was in a safe space with Lars and all the other guys around us, and I can't remember everything from this time because she took over. So it was not hard to play it because she did it. Thank you.
Okay, please.
I have a question for Hannah and Lucas. What was the experience like shooting in the pandemic with all safety precautions? But I mean, I'm guessing you guys were in a bubble while shooting it. But could you just share the challenges of shooting in a pandemic? And I think Felix and Lars can also come into this. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. We did the regular process of isolating before shooting and testing every day and living in this bubble and have no contacts to outside people. So it was a little lonely for family life, but also we had this film temporary family where we stayed every day for 18 hours shooting. So it was fine, and we felt safe. It was a wonder, nothing happened. Yeah.
I shot 10 projects last year. I was with these beautiful human beings for one day, and I was at, I think, 2 parties last year, 2 places where I was dancing and with human beings. It's not cool, and it's not like as if it stops. It stops on some productions, but I just shot a project for 5 months where we were testing every day. Everybody wore a mask. If you didn't wear a mask, somebody would come up to you and you would get into trouble. And we needed this place also of like, you get into trouble if you don't wear a mask, because we had 80% of people who caught COVID. And in case some of you work on film sets, you know how much it costs. And if a production shuts down, it can be destructive. And so it's a tough time, and unfortunately still I have to say we got to stick together to pull through it and protect your actors, especially in and not let them get the virus.
But of course the very restricted frame we shot this film in, you know, like shooting everything in one apartment with just like 2 main characters actually within the apartment, helped us to go through this. I mean, it was written this way. I wrote it in a way already calculating we have to make it, you know, it has to be doable. So I think this helped. We shot in our apartment, actually in my apartment. And some of the crew were living on the 3rd floor. We rented another place there. So it was almost like, you know, a lot of people didn't even leave the building for 14 days. And we had to shoot rapidly. There was only a very short amount of time where the actors were available. So all these circumstances made it very difficult to shoot, but also in that perspective of like how to deal with COVID restrictions, almost easy.
Yeah, and that way it was almost very authentic, because the film has that kind of setting and we were also in that setting. I mean, it's definitely not nice to shoot with masks for a long amount of days, and with all the restrictions we had, and yeah, it's not a nice feeling, but it kind of fitted to the film's message or the narrative. So we kind of had to go through something, to a transformative process, I think all of us ourselves, doing this film.
And it made it very realistic, I think, for the characters also to be in there, you know, to deal with this. Especially Laszlo, the main character, is so afraid and he's like protecting himself. So I think it was really right at the beginning where everything was, you know, still up in the air and very, very, you know, we didn't know where's this lockdown going to. But I think one important aspect about this lockdown is like also that we wanted to make sure that in the film it's not really COVID, you know, it's a virus, you know, it's just like a metaphor for something, you know, it could be, you know, something that also exists in 10 or 20 years. It's a virus, you know, we never really gave it a name, you know.
Any more questions?
I read that this film has been produced completely independently.
Sorry?
So the film has been produced completely independently.
Yes.
So, so I would like to ask you, what are the challenges faced by independent producers or filmmakers in Germany?
Well,
Where are
actually,
there some challenges?
Yeah, I mean, it has advantages and disadvantages. In our case, I'll start with the advantages. The advantages were we could shoot within 3 months. Completely impossible in Germany. Otherwise, you need a lot of time to finance a movie with all the fundings that are possible in Germany. But because of the story and the setting and the pandemic, we thought we need to be very quick to finance it, and so we financed it privately. So the disadvantages, of course, are in order to get a lot of money, you would need also a lot of time probably, or find people who are willing to invest in a risky project like this. So we had constraints in terms of financing the film, and there are not a lot of films actually being produced this way because of the fundings that are available in Germany. Not a lot of people go through something like this. But today I heard of another film who went through something very similar to that. So it's great for people to do that, because otherwise projects like this wouldn't exist, I believe.
Yeah, dare to make movies. Dare to make movies.
Yeah.
I would like to interrupt now because
Yes.
we also have
Thank you very much.
another beautiful movie called Happiness.
Hello, happiness.
Happiness is a Kazakh movie, and it has been directed by Askar Uzabayev, and we also have producer with us, Katchko. The film is about a vicious circle of domestic violence in a small border town in Kazakhstan. The couple has been married for 23 years, during which the wife has been constantly abused and raped by her alcoholic husband. Their daughter is about to get married and gets into the same marriage trap as her mother. Is there a way out of these circumstances? Who will take the lead? Can we play the trailer?
Әйелдердің көпшілігі қалай бақытты болсам деп ойлайды. Біздің компанияның басты мақсаты сізге оны табуға көмектесу. Бастамас бұрын барлықтарыңызды көздеріңізді жұмуды сұраймын. Қорықпаңыздар. Қорқатын ештеңе жоқ, қыздар. Енді қыздар, кім өзін бақытты болуға лайық деп санайды? Бірнеше жыл бұрын дәл сіздер секілді өзімді бақытты адам деп санамадым. Тіпті бақыттың не екенін мен білмеппін де. Бірақ осы компанияға келгеннен кейін барлығы да өзгерді. Сіз де өзгере аласыз, мен сияқты. Бақыт деген не? Сұлулық. Жақындарыңызбен жақсы қарым-қатынас. Ал мүмкін ақша шығар. Ішіңіздегі бақыт сезімі. Бақыт дегеніміз осының барлығының қосындысы. Және мен сізге қалай бақытты болудың құпиясын ашамын, қыздар. Бұл өмірде орындалмайтын арман жоқ, қыздар. Біз барлық әйелдерді біріктіріп, оларға күш беріп, бақытты болуды үйретеміз. Шығармаңыздар.
Now let's hear about the movie directly from the makers, whether the protagonist has found her happiness or not.
Hello, everybody. So I'm the producer. Here's the director, Askar Uzabayev. We are very happy to be here. It's an amazing audience we have discovered yesterday. Incredibly feeling for this film. So maybe I also wanted to ask you if you have seen the film. Maybe some of you.
Couldn't get tickets.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Yes, it was really full house, and we already had I will tell you maybe a little bit. We had a premiere at the Berlinale last year, actually during pandemic Berlinale, so even the director could not come. But we won a Panorama section. We won an audience award, so in a way it's related to what I heard here. It's the problem is very touching to the audiences in Europe, in Germany, for instance, and here, what I've seen. So thank you also to the Indian audiences for your response to the film. I don't know if you have questions or...
I read a statistic that said 70% of the women who are tried for killing or violence against their husbands are doing so in self-defense.
you've made a film, I know it's out of Askar's usual kind of content that he has dealt with so far. You've dealt mostly with comedy and drama, not so much with socially relevant subjects. How deeply prevalent is this in society? And if it is so prevalent, what is the role of the father in any household?
Yes, thank you for the question. I would love Askar to respond it because he is a man from Kazakhstan. Вопрос все-таки в том, что как вот, ну, такая огромная статистика, что женщины там самое, и как вот какая роль мужчины вообще в семье казахстанской? Я хочу, чтобы ты ответила на это. И вообще как бы. I will translate. We don't have a translator, so I will try to translate also.
We'll hear from him also.
А?
Speak into the mic.
Говори тоже. По-русски микрофон. Okay.
Ну, мне кажется, в любом обществе роль мужчины и женщины в институте семьи, она на самом деле очень важна. И я говорил о том, что женщины воспитывают таких абьюзивных мужчин, и это одна очень большая общая проблема.
So the institution of family is incredibly important in every part of the world, we know, and it's very difficult, and in a way it's also, we talked a lot about it in the film and yesterday with the audience, that it's actually a vicious circle, and actually these abuses are raised by women in their families, and it goes on and on and on.
I have a question for Mr. Askar. When I first saw the poster of the movie, I was taken away. Like, it was very intriguing for the audience, for normal people also, to see such kind of poster of the movie where I am seeing that the protagonist carry the cutout of a woman who holds these cosmetics and she is wrapped up with plastics. So it's very intriguing, and to deal with such kind of topic of domestic violence, I want to know what is the process and what exactly would you want to a message by choosing such kind of posters. It's a very strong message behind that from that particular poster of the movie. So what do you actually went through the process of selecting the posters of that movie?
Я в этом постере видел больше какую-то красоту, энергию, какое-то напряжение. И этот постер, когда мы выбирали локации, я просто проходил мимо, увидел этот забор и сказал, здесь я сделаю постер.
So for me, this poster was more of the energy, of the feeling, and also the beauty. When we were shooting, looking for locations, I walked by some kind of a wall outside, and I said, this is where we're going to make a photo for the poster. And also I would like to add from that on the poster, this lady which is wrapped, it's a very big celebrity who is also one of the producers of our film, the producer of our film. She couldn't come here, but she is a very big celebrity in Kazakhstan, probably the #1 blogger and TV celebrity, and she has been through the terrible Home Violence Act some years ago, even, and maybe this is something we want to mention. She's also ready to talk about it. When it happened to her, and imagine she is like someone who is every day on TV, who has millions of people following her on Instagram, and she's been married for 20 years, and this is something that happened to her, 2016. She's very, very beautiful person and actress. It was a big shock for the whole country. So we wanted also to use this opportunity together with her and with Askar to promote and to fight for the law. The law is not existing yet. The actual law of decriminalization, it's not protecting people yet, as of yet. So in a way, I mean, it's her personality is the one who is wrapped, you know. So it's also for the people in this region, because everybody knows her and everybody knows this very sad story. it was a big statement also.
In connection with my first question,
Yes, exactly. She said because she almost died. It was very long process of her surviving this. She was almost killed. And when she survived after like a year in a hospital, she said, there is something I survived for, so I should make a statement with this.
in connection with my first question, how tough and how difficult it is to make a movie and such strong message, such strong topic in Kazakh, like.
Ну, во-первых, не опасно, во-вторых, просто существует такая огромная проблема, о которой мы говорим. И самое страшное, и самое, наверное, важное в этом, мы должны понять в этом фильме самое важное, что мы в этом живем, и вы в этом живете.
Yes, the strongest message for me was to understand and to explain to everybody that we live in this kind of violence, and you live in this kind of violence, and probably most of the world, unfortunately, live in this kind of violence. And it's not dangerous to shoot this kind of film in Kazakhstan, but as a producer, I can say that this was there was absolutely no state money, because Kazakhstan has a lot of state money and there's financing available, but this film was not supported by the government, and we didn't expect it to be. It was fully privately financed. It is not an easy task, because we know that many people will be, because it's so real and it happens in so many families. I'm sure it happens also here in India and in many other countries. We've been screening all over the world. I was myself, as a woman, I was amazed in how many also European countries, women were coming to us and sharing their stories. It's incredible that it's today, in 2022, this is what we're experiencing. So in Kazakhstan, we will be having a screening there is like an international festival happening next week, actually. So we'll have a premiere there, and we'll have a release in January. Let's see what happens. But as I said, it's not supported by the government. But it's also not, I mean, Kazakhstan is a very loyal country. I've done a lot of also very socially impacted films there. So it's not going to be prohibited or anything. You know, it's just, we have to come through to the audience, to the people.
I actually wanted to add to a question. So it's about the predicament of women in your country. So how empowered are women in Kazakhstan? I think you've answered it already, but would you like to say anything
actually,
else?
I would like him to, the director,
yes,
to
let's
ask,
have a man's
because
view.
he has a very, I love his perspective, especially because I'm still a woman and he's still a man. Я говорю, что она говорит, что какая роль женщины в казахстанском обществе. Я говорю, хочу, чтобы ты ответил, потому что ты много об этом говоришь.
Ну, роль женщины в Казахстане, она очень важная. Мы все воспитаны нашими матерями, и женщина является, наверное, сейчас в современном Казахстане героем, которая просто пытается сделать так, чтобы мы прогрессировали и жили дальше. Это женщина в Казахстане очень важна, и при этом она терпит очень много насилия и всего, что заключается в том, что человек отдает себя полностью для того, чтобы у нас все было хорошо.
So he thinks, and I really like this statement, that the woman in Kazakhstan has actually a leading role. She is raising kids, she is raising the family, she is making statement every day with her power of also changing the society. The society today actually relies on women because they're actually being patient and they're being strong enough to try to push it forward. And there are many things also that actually women are deciding in the families. The women have a lot of decision power, but at the same time, they're still suffering, what we have shown in the film, and it's two sides of a medal.
I would also like to ask one question. That in the trailer we saw that she is in search of happiness. Like she thinks that what is happiness? Is it beauty? Is it money? So I haven't seen the film. So at the end, what is her definition of happiness? Did the movie end on an optimistic note, or?
No. Yes, he is adding very important, because there is a name in Kazakhstan, Baqyt, and it's a name, a very common name, and it's for women and men, both. So for us it was also important, the name of the person is the name of the film. Of course, the title is kind of the controversy of the actual things what happened in the film, but it's very important for us to show that it's actually a vicious circle, and we think that this woman can never find happiness, and she's in her late 40s, and she's been all her life living with someone who has been violent, and she becomes actually at the end she also becomes violent. She has it in her. I don't think personally it can be cured or changed once the person has suffered, and she didn't leave him when he was young. She stayed with him, and at the end she stays with him. And the last shot of the film is when they close the door and they stayed in their apartment, even though they're unhuman, both of them are not human anymore for me. But they have a daughter, and we see the daughter might be changing, and then we see the baby coming at the end. So in a way, I think it's, we know that the character is kind of formed in people, they say until 6-7 years old, right? This is when you're raised in the family, and I know all of you who have kids have probably had this experience. So truly, I believe I met many women in Kazakhstan. We also worked with a scriptwriter who went to jails, and she met with hundreds of women who suffered and who actually killed their husbands. As you said, they were in prison for self-defense. But I personally believe that maybe if we start raising this question and children are raised differently, men and women both, so maybe there will some change come at the end. So there is some happiness, but unfortunately it has a lot of work. It needs a lot of work to do. Yes. Thank you.
Probably I was the only man, the guy who watched the movie yesterday. And my question with Askar is, when we heard or when we see this kind of art house movie or meaningful movie, it comes with a kind of tag like it will be boring or long shots and everything. But I found the script very, very engaging. Like with each frame, with each scene, you do something and people are engaged. That is one of the reasons I think nobody left the audience, and after the screening people are coming and touching his feet, which very unusual for me, and they didn't understand why they are touching their feet, because that was the great gesture. So was it deliberate choice as a scriptwriter, because he is the scriptwriter of the film and he wrote the script in Goa, if I'm not wrong. Yeah. So this film has been written in Goa. So that's another tag for Goa. So was it deliberate choice, Askar? Okay, like you thought I engaged through script writing to the audience, or it just came as natural to you? Thank you.
Мне кажется, всегда для кино очень важно то состояние, в котором ты находишься. Я снял кучу комедий, снял очень много народного кино, и я закрыл эту тему для себя. Сейчас я для себя открываю авторское кино. То, что касается Индии, да, 6 лет подряд я сюда езжу, и еще 6 лет подряд я еще буду сюда ездить, пока Индия меня принимает, и пока я могу оставаться здесь один на один с собой и писать сценарий. Так что Индии отдельное спасибо за переосмысление себя.
So two parts an answer. So the India part, yes, I've been coming to India for 6 years, and I will come to India as long as India is welcoming me. Every time it's getting back to me. It's the place where I can be alone with myself, and I am extremely happy to be able to create my scripts here and to work and to understand my work here. I have also done a lot of, for me the script and the idea is important that it has to engage the audience. I have done about 20 comedies, and all these comedies were very successful in the box office, and they became people's comedy. People are using their, the log lines, and everybody knows in the country these films. And at some point I'm closing this chapter because it's become very important for me to make films that have more of a social statement and to go this way. But of course I want to engage audiences, that people really watch my films.
I have a question. He's like, oh no. Do you feel like, because you shot so many comedies, that you understand the depth of drama differently and therefore can bring it more humanity?
Да, мне просто хочется сказать, что комедия, по сути дела, это самая-самая большая драма.
What I want to say that comedy is the biggest drama.
Yeah, I had a feeling that would be something like the answer. Okay, cool, thank you.
So,
yes.
Yeah, my question is to both Lars Knorrn and Anna Katchko and all of you. Both of you, when you began your remarks, you asked whether anyone here has watched the film. In fact, no. You asked whether anyone here has seen the film, right? And just some time back, your gentleman, your name please? Chandra said that he thinks he's probably the only one here who has watched Happiness. Am I right? Yes. So I want to.
Looks like it, yes.
Sorry. No. So my one basic doubt is, where can we watch your films?
That's the great.
I cannot. Yeah. I mean, yesterday was really like a very big presentation here, so unfortunately, but it was full, and for us it was very impressive. The hall was bigger than the hall for Panorama in Berlin, and it was full, and people didn't leave. They all stayed and asked questions, so we are very impressed. I mean, very happy, and it's very important for filmmakers, especially of this kind of film. Otherwise, I hope this film will be distributed in India. I mean, it's been pandemic, and it's been going a little bit slower, but we already had maybe like 40 festivals, which is good, and we continue. So we hope the film will be distributed in India and also online. So we are talking to different streamers. So hopefully you will see it one day. And we already made a new film, so we continue with our journey.
Going to be back next year.
Can we have Lars Knorrn also?
Yes.
I mean, yesterday it was our world premiere, so we at the beginning of that line. Hopefully, many more festivals will follow. But so let's see. Hopefully, also we find distribution in India or anywhere else in the world. But for us, it's just the beginning to promote this film, to go out, and hopefully, soon you're gonna see it.
But also it was very impressive yesterday. We agree. In our case, no one left the film, although it's quite slow and in ways also dark. Yeah. So it was not a Bollywood movie at all. But people really stayed, and we thought that was very impressive, and the emotional impact it had on a lot of people, and very intelligent questions afterwards, and like so many people just came to us and wanted to take pictures. Like, it was a very warm experience, and we're very grateful.
Which is really not happening in Germany.
Yes, that's what I want to say. We are not used to it. We are not, even though we go to bigger festivals, we are not used to it. And I think it's so important that it's you show your feelings. I mean, this is something I really appreciate. It's been great.
Exactly. It's a revelation that it also connects to the people on the other side of the world, because any film project starts with one person sitting somewhere and thinking, oh, I want to make that film. And it's absurd because, with whatever anxiety you have, you think like this is worth putting out there. And you doubt it all the way through, even until the day before we premiered here. You think, what am I doing here? But then it's such a nice moment when it actually connects to people. Especially, as I said, on the other side of the world, and people get it and understand it. And, and suddenly it makes sense. why you do what you do,
So great to hear from both of you, but both of you, we could hear the plans that you have for distribution and where we would be able to catch the film in the coming days. But my question was where we can see the film at IFFI.
Well, in our case, whoever wants to see it, come up to me and we'll send a screener in terms of distribution and all of those things. No problem.
That's great to know.
But I think there is we have to ask festival organizer. From what I know, we only have one screening at the festival. That's what you're asking, right?
No, in fact, I know that. But basically, my question is, you asked whether we have seen the film, right? Yes. I would like you to define what we mean by seeing the film.
It's just...
Go ahead.
For instance, I would first like to hear from you, please. Yeah.
No, because I think it's just the experience of the European producers that you have a press screening sometimes before and then the press conference. So, but I see there's a little bit different. So that's why I think, because that's why we ask, because there's always a press screening and the official screening. That's something that just we're used to, to have. So that's why journalists sometimes they don't see it, they see it, and we engage them when we are presenting our films into different conversations.
Yeah, I'm sorry, but my question was. No, my question was, what do you mean by seeing a film?
Okay. That's for the directors, I think, the question.
Is it just going to cinema and watch it, or is it the level under it?
It is up to you to say.
Okay.
Well, coming and showing interest and showing up for watching the movie, I guess.
I think it's something about a collective experience. I think sometimes it's like, I think of watching movies in a cinema is sometimes connected like watching a football game, because you're sitting in a crowd and you all watch the same things going on, and you start to get from your own body to become a collective body, like you're experiencing the same emotions or other emotions, but it's you're going to get connected to the people around you, and you're not leaving as you came in. You're changed because of the people around you, and maybe you don't like what you see, but you changed in a way because you had a connection with the other audience people. So maybe that's what for me is watching a movie, to feel collective happening. Yeah, to leave my own body and my own borders.
There's a question over there.
Generally, we don't see German films in India released commercially. Sometimes we get other films dubbed in English or something.
Yeah.
And I'm not talking only this film, but other films also. So, do German film directors, filmmakers, producers have any plans to release their films?
Oh, we would love to release the film if there's interest, absolutely.
Because this one is very fine film.
Are you a distributor?
No, I'm a film lover. That's why I like to watch films.
Nice.
We have Max Muller Bhavan in Pune, Goethe Institute, and we sometimes watch German films there, or in Film Institute also.
Nice.
That's why.
Great.
Interesting.
Yes.
And do you get to watch, I mean, can I ask a question? Do you get to watch a lot of Europeans film as a film lover you are?
In Pune, we organize, not me, there are people who organize European film festivals.
Wow.
So
Oh.
we watch
Can
Polish
we come?
films,
Can you invite
German
us?
films, everything.
I mean, I'm sure we are sitting here all together. We should make something together anyway.
Yeah.
You know, we just met here on stage.
And there is
So
another
we can-
film festival also in Pune, so you can bring your film there also. If you have heard that film festival.
That's very big, right?
If festival.
We'll make a movie, we'll call it Close Sadness.
We would love to. I mean, I think the most important that what the guy said is when you make a film in some faraway part of the world from you, and then we come here and we see the response, and we can share some of our problems, of our feelings, and we get this response. So for a filmmaker, it's the best to be able to show your films. There's nothing better.
What? You changed.
To change places. Always somebody
Still not happy about the answer? Yeah, I'm gonna ask again?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, gonna ask again? Okay.
Yeah, so it's great to hear Hannah's answer that the film, watching a film entails a collective experience, right? So two questions there based upon that. One, do you mean to say that this collective experience, is it a desirable feature which constitutes watching a film, or is it a necessary feature which is foundational and existential to the process of watching a film?
Well,
and
look,
if, okay, yes.
Well, look, it's.
Let
You want to finish? I have an answer.
No, you can. It's okay. Boom. I will come. I will ask afterwards. I mean, you can
Okay.
ask.
I think in the pandemic showed us in a way that no one went to the cinema in the pandemic, and afterwards numbers are slowly only coming back. So I think what we're facing with in the movie industry is a lot of people watch their films on screens, on small phones, and in their homes. But I think there's a difference coming into a screening room, into a movie theater, watching films together with a lot of people. And what Hannah said is, I think is so true. And I grew up going to cinemas and to festivals and enjoying that. And especially like when we saw the film yesterday, the reactions, the laughter, people coming to us, and all of this is something that cannot be transported on the phone or even into your home. I think that's really important, and I hope this will stay and people come back to watch films in the theater.
Thank you. That's great to hear. So this question remains unanswered. Whether this collective experience, is it a desirable feature or is it foundational to the process of watching a film? And if it is foundational, does it thereby mean that what we watch on our mobile phones when we are alone, hooked up onto our earphones, when we are not alone but we are having a solitary experience, watching a film in a crowd or in a train, for example, and even watching a film on our personal devices on OTT platforms, where the collective, where we are deprived of the collective experience. Does it, in that case, mean that what we are hence watching is actually not a film, or that we are actually not watching a movie when we are doing that?
Interesting.
So
Go on.
interesting. Yeah, okay, so the first thing that comes to me is everything in the end is also individual, right? Your experience of what you call a film is always yours. It is never mine. And the place where we meet will always change through time. Right now we're in a time where we've found technology to be a building block of what it means to be the self. You can expand yourself through the technology you use. Hold on for a second. Hold on for a sec. Ah, you can't hear me. Oh shit, can't say that word.
I can hear you.
Yeah, slower.
After technology, no, speed is fine. I just got a momentary distracted. If you can just, after
Technology. So the technology is your expansion of the self. It's all our expansion of the self at the moment, right? You're the master of your phone. You experience life through how you expand with technology. This is our time in a way right now. So now the question is, what do we want the experience of film to be? And we can't answer that question because time itself tells it for us, because we're all experiencing life individually, and the collective forms it out of that, right? So for me, for example, I would love to have cinema be something where it's like a dance. We go there with all our whatever it is that we are, shyness, expressiveness, and we dance with the movie. But that's my desire. So film, I think, is that reflection in a certain way also of who you are and what you want to experience from the medium that you might love.
That is it is shaped by our collective experience and the way those experiences are shared with each other.
Everything is your collective. No, I'm saying that the basis is always collective. You cannot exist alone. So that's clear.
But the point is, I think there's no right way or wrong way to watch a movie. I think it's up to you how you feel and what you need for yourself to enjoy as much as you can. If you want to be alone in bed with your headphones on and stare at your small screen, then you will experience some other emotions than when you sit in the theater and watch it on the big screen with 300 people. So there, maybe you can see the same film, but you don't see the same film because you watched it in different locations by yourself and with other people. So maybe that's the point, that you can enjoy the same film in many ways by the company you are in.
Yeah, there's no dogma.
Yeah, exactly. I think it should be put in a box, to critic like classic cinema formats versus new Netflix sort of platforms alike. I think there's a big collective movement also. I think fans of famous series, they would say it's a collective feeling when they all text after seeing the last episode what was going on. So I think there is a collective feeling even on those platforms or series. I think after all, I think you have to embrace whatever's happening out there, because in the end filmmakers have to make the money with it and a living. And if the movement right now is going away from the cinema, you have to let that also happen. You have to work with both. But I think it's important to not to deny one or the other.
Can I add something?
Of
because
course.
I think there's a lot in, I believe a lot in education and culture, and I think in India you just have this wonderful culture. You're used to go to see films in the cinema, and what the guys are saying, that I hope here it will not die or be changed for like OTT platforms or something, because I see so many people on on the weekdays in the morning coming. It's always full. There are no tickets, and all my friends, I have a lot of people I've been communicating in India, they say from childhood they've been raised like this. They always go see films, right? Probably you have this experience. In Europe it's a little different, and in some countries it's even worse, and of course with pandemic, with everything, it's changed. But I would love to come back here every year and see your great audiences. This is something I think you really are the best in the world for this.
So we hope you keep coming back to IFFI, and also we hope you keep coming back to IFFI and also bring many others from there. But basically, so I would
Thank you.
Yeah. But I have my question.
Is there more? Do we still have time?
If there is any other question, you can take.
Is there any other question?
Maybe there are other people.
So we'd like to end the conference now.
we're gonna
We
stay
have
here.
other press conference lined up. So
Shital, can we just...
Okay.
Just
We're having a huge philosophical argument.
It's not happy yet.
Okay, I think other members of the media fraternity are also wanting to interact with you, so I will stop. Thank you.
Yes, I mean, if you have other...
We can talk also outside.
Yeah, sure. Thank you. I just...
But do you have anybody else
Last
maybe has questions?
Okay, fine. Thank you.
I don't know if anybody else has questions. Yes? No?
Anyone has
Are there
more
more
questions? Okay. So we'll end the conference. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thanks for having
everyone.
us.
Thank you so much. Thank you.